Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Let me get my little papers ready. It is 6:32, and I'm going to call the first public hearing for the County of Northumberland CDBG funding for 2020 to order. You are being recorded, as I'm required to let you know, so that anyone who would like to get this information who hasn't been able to join us tonight, it will be accessible to them. Justin Scavery, who is the grants manager for Northumberland County, is also on the line tonight in the video. We work together to administer the county's CDBG program. So Justin, hello. If you want to.
Hello, Wanda.
Hi, just so people can know your voice. And Scott Kramer's also on the line from CDCOG. He's the IT guy, and he's going to make sure that I know what I'm doing. Right, Scott?
I guess, yep.
He's a co-host. Tonight's public hearing workshop is the first step in the process for applying for Northumberland County's CDBG allocation. The agenda is going to be displayed on the screen. With any luck. Oh, look at that. There we have it. So tonight we're going to be hearing a brief program overview of the CDBG program. We're also going to be talking about the county awards for CDBG. I have several public announcements that I'm required to make on behalf of DCED. And we're also going to look over the project review, community development plan, where we'll talk about project proposals for this year. The community development block grant program was created through an act of Congress. The funds for the grant come from the federal government through the Housing and Urban Development Act. PA Act 179 created the legislation to govern Pennsylvania's part in how the CDBG grants funding would be administered. There are federal funds that come down through the state, so we have not one, but two government agencies controlling CDBG money, which is why we have a lot of regulations. Every CDBG project must be managed according to those federal and state guidelines. The purpose of the CDBG program is to assist municipalities with enhancing the viability of their communities by targeting and funding projects to provide decent housing, a sustainable living environment, and expanded economic opportunities, principally for low to moderate income people. PA regulations govern the entitlement program. Entitlement municipalities receive their own contracts from DCED. Northumberland County entitlement programs are Cole Township, Sunbury, Shamokin, and Northumberland County. This is a meeting for Northumberland County specifically. There are 4 municipalities in Northumberland County known as OBOs that have their own set-aside entitlements and choose how to spend their money, but the county is the one who applies on their behalf. Those municipalities are Delaware Township, Milton Borough, Mount Carmel Borough, and Ralpho Township. And the county receives an allocation, but that is set aside for those particular OBOs. And then they also receive an allocation that is what's called competitive, and that's why you all are here. We'll be talking from here on out about those competitive funds. There is a pool of money of 2,600, I can't ever say numbers, $264,441 that will be reserved for the county use that municipalities and other organizations can compete for by filling out survey forms or being in touch with me or being in touch with Justin and letting us know what your projects are and what you're interested in being considered for. I'd like to direct your attention to the application preparation schedule, which I'm putting on the screen right now. Okay, which I'm putting on the screen. There we go. You'll notice that we are at the first public hearing and development workshop tonight, May 14th. Project summaries are due June 5th. Zerby Township and Coltmont Marion Heights Joint Municipal Authority should have received project summaries in the mail. They are what you use to submit a project. If you do not have one, please get in touch with me and I can email you a second copy. On June 16th, the Northumberland County Commissioners will review projects, and then on July 7th, they will select them publicly. And then there will be a final public hearing on August 4th when the public can comment one last time. And then the commissioners will approve a resolution to submit the application on August 4th. And the application submission deadline is October 28th of this year. And at the bottom here, you can see the allocations for the county as well as all the OBOs that are underneath the county. CDBG regulations involve something that I like to call a two-pronged test because it helps folks understand. First is that the project must be eligible under CDBG guidelines. So I'm putting up a list of eligible activities now that you can see: water system and sanitary sewer system and stormwater improvements, housing rehabilitation and construction, public community facilities like parks, playgrounds, community centers, recreation facilities, public services, which are services to assist low to moderate income people, the disabled, elderly, other protected classes, street and road improvements, parking facilities, historic preservation, removal of architectural barriers, which is like removing anything that impedes a disabled person's ability to access where he or she needs to go. Also code enforcement, solid waste facilities, economic development, but we have a hard time getting that one through. Acquisition, relocation, clearance, and utilities other than water and sewer. Almost everything's really eligible, but what the ineligible activities are: operation and maintenance activities, political activities, new housing construction, or any kind of acquisition, reconstruction, construction of buildings that are used for the general purpose of government, and also equipment, not to be confused with playground equipment. If it's stationary, it is allowable and eligible, but if it's non-stationary, it is not. Any questions on what I've rambled off so far? Okay, the second prong is fundability, and this is where things get confusing. So you have to have fundability and eligibility within the same project for your CDBG project to be considered. First way that a project can be fundable is to benefit low to moderate income persons. So that means 51% of the people benefiting from the project must be of low to moderate income. The objective most often used when you're dealing with CDBG projects, and 70% of the county's funding must be used for an LMI benefit. The applicant first has to determine the service area of the project, who is going to benefit from it. Create a list, and then survey the folks who will benefit to see if they are predominantly low to moderate income, or if you're lucky and the project benefits an entire block group that is already listed as low to moderate income, you don't need to survey. You can use the ASCS data that's provided by the state. The second way that you can that a project can be fundable is by the elimination of slum or blight. Typically, you'll see in certain parts of the county, you'll see a lot of demolition activity going on, especially in Shamokin and Mount Carmel. That's the elimination of slum blight fundability. There's a third way to be fundable: response to urgent need. And I've always said it's rarely used, but it can be used this year because of COVID virus. We're under a presidential as well as a gubernatorial declaration of disaster, which allows the urgent need qualification to be able to be used. The emergency has to have occurred in the past 18 months. We're still under a state of emergency. It has to pose a serious threat to health and welfare. And those are things that funding can be used for to prevent or prepare for COVID virus. There's a second round of funding that will be coming out through the county specifically for coronavirus. It's called CDBG CV. There'll be another public hearing on that specifically. The ad went into the paper. It will be going into the paper on Saturday. So if you're aware of projects in your community and want more information about how to apply for coronavirus funding, it'll be a lot of the same, just more specific projects that will be eligible. Any questions on that? Okay, so municipal governments, authorities, not-for-profits, anybody can apply to the county for funding. There is no match requirement. However, if you do put something in, like even paying for engineering, it is a point in your favor. The applicant has to provide the information requested on the project summary sheet that went out in the mailing that alerted you to this meeting tonight. And it also has to include a detailed project budget, letting the commissioners know how much funding it's going to take to make the project happen. One of the things that is a must is that you must know where all the funding is coming from. If you're using CDBG funding for only a portion of your project, you must identify where you will be getting the rest of the funding so that we know it's a viable project. And Justin and I will meet with each potential project site to help determine fundability, eligibility, and service area. Now I have a couple of public service announcements that I'll go through quickly, and then I'll give us a chance to talk about specific projects before, I know Fran has to hop off at 7, so I want to make sure we have time for that conversation. A copy of the fair housing notice is on your screen. Northumberland County has adopted and published a fair housing analysis and a plan to assure fair housing in the community, in the county, on behalf of itself and the OBOs. The notice advises that there's no discriminatory actions allowed; they are prohibited. And this notice, which is posted in all municipal buildings as well as the county offices, this notice lets you know who that you talk to if you feel that you are being discriminated against. And the fair housing officer for Northumberland County is the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, listed at the bottom of this notice. The county has also developed an anti-displacement plan as required by CDBG regulation. The real crux of this issue, even though this is a 7-page plan, is that if in the course of a CDBG activity, low to moderate income housing is removed, there is something called 1-for-1 replacement that must happen. And that means that as many units that are displaced must be replaced. And if people are displaced, they are eligible for relocation assistance through CDBG funding. However, it is not Northumberland County's intent, nor has it ever been done by them to displace anyone. But we are required to let you know that there's a plan in place in the event that it should happen. Finally, Northumberland County has a Section 504 compliance officer and a process for grievance. Section 504 makes sure that people are not discriminated in access or participation in employment programs or activities because of disabilities. The county's Section 504 compliance officer is Joseph Piccarelli. I'm scrolling through his name. These notices will be published as well in municipal buildings and county government buildings. And finally, I just want to go over briefly the Section 3 preference statement that says that low to moderate income people will be given preference in setting up businesses or having their businesses be used through CDBG projects, and anyone who wants more information on that should contact CDBG. So finally, I want to let you know that The commissioners are the ones who finally determine which projects will be selected. And the criteria that they use for that is, first, the funding is all in place, as I discussed earlier. Whoever shows the greatest need and the best use of taxpayers' dollars. So the more typically water sewer projects take a lot of precedence. Road projects can rank very high too, because there are some really roads that need a lot of attention here in Northumberland County. And finally, today's public hearing is the first step in the process of updating Northumberland County's 3-year development plan, which is required by DCED. The county commissioners select goals, and those goals are to develop water and sewer and utility coverage for the county, and to assist municipalities in the way that they most need the help. Anything that is brought up at tonight's meeting will become part of the 3-year plan automatically. CDBG projects currently underway or recently completed include the Locust Gap Pump Station Reconstruction Project, which was completed in March using CDBG funding. The water line replacement in Coltmont, which, if you were on the line earlier, you heard Fran talking to me about that, is a project that is using CDBG money and is currently underway. The reconstruction of Franklin Avenue in Trevorton will begin late summer using CDBG funds. And there were 3 severely blighted properties removed, 2 in Atlas and 1 in Diamond Town by the end of last year. And at this time, I'd like to give anybody an opportunity to discuss proposed projects that you might have come tonight to talk about.
Linda, 2 of the projects over at Coltmont, that their wastewater facility, is they have some aging equipment that they want to replace, and they want to know whether or not they would be eligible.
Tell me a little more about the aging equipment.
They have a UV system that was installed back around, I think it was 2003, and it is, it's outside, so it is. Again, technology-wise, it's a fairly simple technology, but it is, it definitely needs updated. The equipment itself, being that it's in the wastewater all the time, it does have a tendency to deteriorate. They have replaced some things on it, but what they're looking at is possibly replacing the entire unit.
Okay. Justin and I will definitely reach out to you, Fran, and to the authority to continue discussions on that. There's a fine line between equipment and upgrades. So for that to be an eligible project, it would have to be an upgrade to the facility. DCD is very, very careful about not funding what they call maintenance, basically, for lack of a better word. That's been,
right.
It's just part of what you should be doing anyway. So if that were to be a fundable project, we would need to show that it's not just maintenance and that it is an upgrade. And they may want to wait, having just received funding, because unless the project is really severe, the commissioners will probably be looking to give another community a chance since the authority just had funding. But it never hurts. I would encourage you to put in the application and get it on the community plan.
Okay. The second project is, again, it's very similar. It's all of the controls for their SBR system. Now, this definitely would be an upgrade because the controls that are there are, the 2002, 2003 vintage. So all these sensors, controls are all from that period. And most of them have, I wouldn't say most of them, but a number of them have failed. They're having trouble with replacement parts, so they're looking at upgrading the entire control system for that whole part of the treatment plant.
That key phrase, can't get replacement parts, that's one that we rely on to define an upgrade as opposed to maintenance. So I
Okay.
think, I mean, not saying that your other project doesn't have a chance. It's just, but I heard the language that gives me what I need right in your description there. Can you tell me what SBR stands for?
Sequencing batch reactor.
Oh, it's B as in boy. Oh,
That's the main part of their wastewater treatment.
okay. Now, this is a good time for a brief discussion on something called fair share. CDBG funds are very geographic in nature. The county gets funds to benefit a certain municipality or a certain block group. We need to identify who the users are. The users of the authority are Coltmont, Marion Heights, and I believe even some other smaller municipalities in between. So if you were to put in the project to upgrade the SBR system, we'd need to look at your whole list and say out of that list, 85% of the people on it are in the non-entitlement areas. But for some reason, some folks live, and in the outskirts maybe of Cole Township. I mean, probably not, but I'm just using this as an example. We would need to remove those folks from the project. And the way that we would do that is if 15% of them of the residents receiving benefit are located in Cole Township, you would give me a price for the whole project, and 85% of it would be eligible for CDBG funding. That would be the county's fair share. And the other thing that we would need to do would be to income survey the entire service area for the authority, for the that this unit would serve, which I think from the sounds of it would be your whole authority area. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that we can't do it. There are ways to do that. But if you are serious about putting this project in, that surveying is something that we would need to do before the commissioners would give final consideration. And as I get a better idea for what projects are coming in, this hearing tonight is not a requirement. So there may be, and I do know of other folks that are planning to put projects in, but they're just not here. So as I see the projects that are coming in, we can kind of, Justin and I can look at them. We can give you our best guess of what projects are going to rise to the top as far as being the most competitive. We would never encourage you not to put an application in, but if it does require a survey, you may want to think about maybe waiting a year so the survey is good for as long as possible.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Nope, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay. No, that's about it.
And it's 6:55.
Yes, and with that, I am going to have to jump off this one and get on another one.
Oh, have fun with that. It was good talking to you, Fran.
All right, I'll give you a call probably Monday to let you know what's happening with Coltmont then as far as Oak Street.
Yeah, and I'm actually not going to be in the office on Monday. I've taken 2 days of vacation. I will be returning Tuesday, but if you email me, I'll get it. Or wait and we can talk Tuesday, whatever works for you.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thanks a lot. Talk soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see. Let's get Jerome unmuted. Do you go by?
I go by Jerry.
Jerry? Okay. So Scott, I think we can hear Jerry, but it's showing me that he's muted.
Yes, I have the push to talk.
Oh, so you're taking care of that on your own. All right, great. Thanks.
Don't know who's going to walk in, so.
Yeah, in my case, it's when the dog's going to bark. So far, she's been good. Did you have a specific project that you came tonight to find out information about, Jerry?
No, Mike Schwartz, he just forwarded me the email and asked if I'd join on in
Okay,
just to get input and a little more knowledge on it, looked up per se.
sure. So did you have
No, not at this
questions
time.
about
No,
anything you heard?
Not at this time. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know that Mike has my email address and my phone number and all my contact information. I'd be happy to give it to you. You can get it from him. If you have any follow-up questions or any reason that you would want to get in touch with Justin or myself, please let us know.
I sure will. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else? Does anybody else have project discussions? Any comments, Jerry, on the other projects that you heard tonight, or questions about those?
No, not at all. I'm just happy to finally see Franklin Street going through. I know we've been working on it for a while now, so
Yeah,
that'll make a few people happy in town. Others unhappy because it's not their street, but they'll have to get a line.
that's the way it always goes. I know we were held up. That project was actually supposed to go out to bid the day after the governor's shutdown. We had to take it off, and now it has to be rebid. But it is being rebid right now, and it will be
Good.
completed
Great.
this construction season.
Great.
I also want to ask quickly, anybody on the line, are you aware of any places where there's limitations on access for disabled folks that may not be able to get where they need to go? Or any needs to modify the county facilities in any way to allow equal access? I invite anyone present to comment on concerns regarding potential for historical or environmental impacts on any of the projects we talked about tonight, or the projects that I mentioned earlier that are already underway. Any other questions relating to information that I relayed here tonight? Okay, I'd like to give you a reminder that the 2020 project proposals must be received at CDBG by June 5th. I'm going to make a note to email Fran to that effect. And if there are no more comments, Justin and I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Linda. I appreciate it. I did learn a few things, and Justin, Scott,
Yeah.
take care. Hope everybody stays healthy.
Thanks, you too. Thank you very much. Tell Mike I said hi.
Will do.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay.